They're like, what song did you prepare? And I'm like, I didn't prepare a song. And the first song that popped in my head was, whatever happened to predictability?
I have to imagine one of the all-time highs was getting the call that Workaholics got the green light.
Dude, was...
Like, take me to that moment and what you recall.
I was in the middle of an interview, my first ever interview. I did a stand-up show on the west side in like Venice, and I did really well. And she was like, I write for the Venice, and I want to do a piece on you. And it was like a local like Venice Weekly type thing. And she was like saying I'm like the next Jim Carrey. And it was like the very fluff piece of how great I was. And I'm like, ooh, this is fantastic.
And
my first
Jim Carrey was your guy.
Oh yeah. And then I get the call saying we got Workaholics, or we got the pilot at least. And it suddenly felt like everything was kicked into gear. And yeah, it was a wild ride. Of course, then it took like almost 2 years for the show to actually come out. We filmed the pilot. It took a while for them to agree to green light it, and then we shot all 10 episodes, and then it took another like 6 months, or even longer. I think it took like 8 or 10 months for the show to actually air. So for like a year, when I'm on stage, I'm telling people like, and bring me up, he has his own show on Comedy Central coming up. And then my friends were saying like, dude, it's okay that you don't have a show. Like, you've been saying this for almost a year now, and there's no show. It's okay that you don't. They thought I was like a lunatic, just going like, just say I have a show. And they're like, it's okay. And I'm like, I do, I swear I do. You know, friends is a loose term, like the guys that are at the comedy club.
That show was almost baptism by fire, because you guys are like reading books on how to write scripts.
Yeah.
As you were writing the script for Workaholics.
Yeah, Anders, he knew how to write a script. Mm-hmm. That was his thing. He considered himself a writer first. When Blake and I definitely saw ourselves more as performers first, writers second. Mm-hmm. And so we didn't know how to write. And Durs had only written a few things before this, so it's not like he was a pro or anything. And so he like gave us some books. He was like, read these. So we're reading these at night, and then during the day, we were running our own room and like had all these, and we hired all these like really smart people, these Harvard guys, and then these community college dropouts are being like, I think we should do this. And they're like, these kids are idiots. But
did you get that sense at the time?
No, because I mean, Blake's super funny, and I think I'm a pretty funny guy, and I think that they all thought the reason that they signed up to do the show was they thought that our pilot that we made, because we made a pilot on our own, mm-hmm. and then we gave that to Comedy Central, and then they greenlit the show. And so I think everyone thought it was funny, so there must be something to this.
Your reaction when a pause was put on the Workaholics movie?
Oh, gut it, dude. Oh, that sucked. That was the worst. I come downstairs. It was during the rains. My house is flooding. Like, my roof in this home was like caving in. And I'm like, oh God, we're like gonna have to get that fixed. And then I get a call from my manager, who has no tact. And he's like, dude, this sucks. They're not doing the movie. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, they're not doing it. All right, see ya, I gotta call the other guys. And I'm like, what the hell, man? And
it was like 5 weeks before.
It was 5 weeks before we were about to start shooting. We were building sets. We had hired the crew. The cast was all lined up to do everything. And it was like, it sucked for us, and it really sucked for all the crew members that like they had planned on this job, and so now they have to scramble to get new work in just a few weeks. So it sucked for everybody involved. Paramount Plus. I'm looking at you.
Would you ever buy the rights to it and try and?
I can't afford the rights, man. They're holding that thing hostage, and I mean, I would love to. That'd be fantastic. But yeah, they, for whatever reason, are just holding on to it, and they won't let us take it anywhere. They won't let us shop it. We were like, well, what if we can get Netflix to buy it? And they tried, and I guess they didn't want to sell the rights. They wanted to lease it to them. and they're like, well, we want to buy. We don't just want to lease the rights, so we pay the amount of money it would cost to make the movie, and then we only get to put it on our platform for 2 years or whatever. They're like, that's not a good deal for us. So
Was it the Full House or Family Matters song?
it's Full House, but it sounds exactly like Family Matters.
Okay.
So for Pitch Perfect, I didn't know, like realistically, I did not know that it was a singing movie.
But you thought it was a baseball
I thought
movie?
it was a baseball movie, Pitch Perfect. It sounds like a baseball movie. That being said, if I read the damn email, I would have figured it out. But I showed up, I looked at the sides. The reason it was so hectic and I didn't know that it was a singing movie was I was shooting Workaholics, and they're like, they want you to read for this. You can go on your lunch break and we can move a scene around and you'll have time to come back. And I'm like, I don't want to go audition for something else when in the middle of the show that I'm one of the executive producers, creators of, and it was season 1.
And some of your buddies also did not want you to do this.
And I was like, I don't even want to go audition for this thing, this cool baseball movie. And I show up, I read the sides, I'm like, this doesn't seem like a baseball movie at all. And I'm pretty good at memorization, so I was able to quickly memorize it. And I go in, I do the audition, realizing it's not a baseball movie. And they're like, what song did you prepare? And I'm like, I didn't prepare a song. And they're like, we'll just sing something that you know all the words to. And the first song that popped in my head was, whatever happened to predictability? The mailman, the paperboy, the evening TV. And I got the movie, dude. I have no idea, because I sing like Rihanna in the movie. I'm like, please don't stop the music. I'm like, why did they think me singing like a 60-year-old jazz singer from New Orleans or wherever that guy's from that sang that song would make a good singer in the movie? But I don't know, I booked it.
What did you film on stage in front of a sold-out stand-up crowd for Warner Brothers that helped in securing the Mike and Dave?
Oh, yeah. Well, at first they were like, you're not big enough to be Mike in this big movie. Like, sorry, you're just not there yet. And like, maybe the cousin. And I'm like, dude, I'm Mike. I'm telling you I'm Mike. And I'm talking to the executive producers of the movie. I'm like, I'm Mike.
And what gives you that confidence in those situations?
I'm delusional. You gotta be. You gotta just be like, I'm the guy. And they're like, you're not the guy. And you're like, watch this. And then they're like, what? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm gonna figure out what you're gonna watch, and you're gonna like it. And I auditioned, and it went great. And they were like, it was between me and one other person, and I did a read, like a chemistry test with me and Zac Efron, and it went great. And it was like right there, whether it's going to be the other guy or me. And I was on tour, and I know the head of the studio didn't know who I was like, I'm unfamiliar with this guy. Obviously, she doesn't watch Workaholics. Nerd. And she didn't watch Workaholics. And so I was like, all right. So I filmed the entire crowd chanting Mike and Dave. And it sounded, the lights were low. It was like 2,000 people, but it sounded like 20,000 people. They were so loud. And I sent that to them. It was the weekend that they were making their decision, and then Monday morning, I was still on tour. I got the call that I got it, and lost my mind. It was awesome.